stop shop. You know what I mean? And get what I needed, then come on back home. Yep, I'm good.
Okay, well shoot, I know it's been a minute, man. I hadn't got any material. I figure, I'll let some things happen, so you'll have a lot to say, man. But did you get a chance to partake in the Michel Rivera and Frank Martin fight?
Yes, I did. I watched that fight live, and Martin just seemed to be the better boxer in that contest, and Rivera seemed to not be able to set any kind of pace or have any regular consistency on anything. Martin was just too slick for him, and throughout the fight it was evident that he couldn't figure Martin out. He just couldn't create no type of regularity in the way he was trying to approach Martin. And Martin just got so ahead of him that eventually his corner told him, say, look, you're gonna have to knock him out. You're gonna have to fight.
Yep.
But even at that particular point, another thing I noticed, when he would go back to his corner, he seemed to have not been in the best conditioning that I would have liked to see him in, because it looked like he was, at some points, it looked like he was kind of exhausted.
Yep.
And the instructions that his corner was giving him, he just seemed to be, glossing over it, as if he wasn't really into what they were trying to tell him to do. But fatigue-wise, he just seemed a little fatigued towards the end of that fight. And on the other hand, Martin never even looked like he took any deep breaths. He just looked fresh. Even at the end of the fight, he just looked like he was ready to go another 10 rounds.
Yep. That's how I seen it. I saw it like this. I said, going in, one was led to believe that Rivera was the more polished guy, but that wasn't the case. I saw a lot of lazy jabs, and with a very accurate, quick-footed and quick hand guy, you can't. When you throw that jab out there, you got to get back and dip, or you can't just, and you got to flick that jab. You got to change it up. But he got caught with that. They call it the lazy jab. That's what Antonio Tarver, he always be alluding to it. But that lazy jab, when you throw it out there, if it don't land, and somebody and they see you, they got that snapshot in their mind, all they gotta do is weave up under it or wait till you. As soon as you throw it, if they know you're not gonna hit them, if they move to the side, they gonna counter, and that's what started happening. Then when Martin started hitting him in the body, and then he started coming up top, it was like, man, it was getting ready to get ugly. But what I saw was, before the fight, laying on the couch, if you look at it, Michel Rivera didn't look bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. He looked like, all right, now I gotta get ready and go out here and do what I gotta do. It wasn't that same that La Salsa or whatever they call him. He didn't have that extra little spunk. And then in hindsight, information that I didn't know until I watched the video this morning, was he was saying that in between his last camp, his body wasn't responding. He was trying to say something about his weight and stuff, so might have attributed to his conditioning. But he put his O up for grabs, which I really respect. It's just, we can't, it's not, he didn't use it like an excuse either, but that's what he spoke to. He said, man, his body wasn't really responding. And salute to Derrick James. I said salute to Derrick James, and that's why I kind of would never really want to see Spence and Jermell fight, because they neither would have the advantage of having Derrick James in the corner. It wouldn't be fair to one, and then to see them fight without his tutelage behind him, it's a different ball game, because he was coaching Frank Martin through that fight. You could hear, the counsel over the commentary. You could actually hear his instruction, and
I could.
And it was Frank Martin, Frank Martin was on command in real time, responding. That's a higher level for Frank to have started so late. So I was very impressed. I'm like, man, if he can go to the body like that, and he can, stay disciplined, now around. What he realized was when he let Michel Rivera be first, that's when he was in trouble, because Rivera was catching him with that right, and then occasionally a 1-2, but at some point he had felt that power, and he was like, man, if this dude get to cranking it up, or if he really catch me, he made a silent agreement at some point, man. His will was broke, and he said, you know what, I am not gonna get embarrassed, I'm gonna be opportunistic, but I ain't really gonna try to win this. I just wanna, I wanna kinda, I want to, give a little effort, but I'm not going to do nothing crazy, because I think Frank could have stopped him if he pushed on the gas. But Frank didn't want to actually make a mistake and give any of the momentum or any of the crowd or any of the advantage he had up to that point. So he did what he needed to do. He got the rounds with a credible guy, and then he got in there and said some names. Did you hear him say some names? What you think about that aspect?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you, when I look at the way that Martin fights, okay, you can't stand in the middle of the ring and try to outfox this guy, okay? To me, that's not the way you beat him, unless, of course, you that skillful of a boxer, okay? Mm-hmm. You will have to put Martin on his back feet, take away his aggression, move him backwards, make him think in a whole different style of fighting other than his offense. You have to take some of that offense away from him, and you have to apply pressure on him. Now, in saying that, Martin, they called out Pitbull, okay? Now, based on what I just said, the type of style you need for Martin, it would be a perfect clash with Martin and Cruz, because the type of fighter that I'm saying you have to be, the offset Martin, that's the type of fighter that Cruz is. So in many cases, they often say that styles make fights. And Pitbull, Cruz, and Martin, if that's not a clash of styles, I think that makes for a real challenging fight. And it's going to take a warrior to step down and show what he had to win that fight. I think that would be an awesome fight.
Yeah, we think alike, but he didn't say that. He said, that's what I was questioning that. I was questioning why no Shakur and why no Isaac Cruz. But I totally agree. I think Isaac Cruz should be next. I was wondering, we know the size of the street thing, so Shakur would have been far-fetched. But he said Tank, Devin, and he said Rolly. You know what I'm saying? He didn't say, nobody said Isaac. He didn't say it in that ring, but I was questioning Isaac, but I agree. I would love Isaac next. I think that's the perfect move. He affiliated with PBC. There's some triangulation with him and Tank. I think that would be the interim step. Would you entertain a Rolly?
You know what? I'm not sure about Rolly. Rolly has indicated in so many words that Rolly does not want to fight at 135 anymore. So we just got to see what weight class Rolly going to fight with his next fight. Rolly has been talking in regards to campaigning at 140. And he's even made a reference of challenging Earl Spence. So right now, Rolly is not even talking about 135.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, I don't really. I'm just saying that because Frank said, because he said he looked over and said, hey, I see Rolly in the crowd, even though that's my man, he can get it. He had said that, so I don't know. We got to read the tea leaves on that one. But now I've heard I've been out there on the YouTube streets this morning, just putting some feelers out. I heard that Shakur said if Frank was to send him a contract, that he promised he would sign it and show up and do whatever. Like, what do you think about Shakur?
I don't think that's a good fight for Frank right now, because he would be fighting Shakur, and that wouldn't even be a championship fight. Right now, I think Martin is on the road for getting a title shot. I don't think that fighting Shakur right now, as far as from a business point of view, I don't think that's the right move right now. Maybe down the road that could be a good fight for him, but I think it's a little premature right now.
Okay.
I mean, that's just what I think.
Okay, so you really want that. I'm with you though. I'm with you. I'm definitely with you. I understand what you're saying. You definitely want to see Frank Martin and Isaac Cruz, right?
I would like to see that fight if they can get that fight. Now, that's not going to be a walk in the park. You know what I mean? But if he wants a real test, that would be a test.
That's what I'm saying.
That would be a test.
That's what I'm saying. Like, Isaac confused me, and I can only reason that. Okay, let me calm down. I can only reason. When Isaac refused Shakur when it was mandated, it was like, okay, that eliminates the side of the street. That means you can go. When he said, nah, we want bigger and better things. Like, people putting Shakur in that bracket where he's high risk, low reward because he don't have that belt. And I'm like, man, that's why I wish he would have, held on to those belts for this purpose, because now it's like, in the perfect world, these are perfect fights when we want everybody to fight each other. Like, these are, but right now when you're on route to, a belt or a championship, when you tracing Devin Haney, a lot of people saying that's what they're doing. He has other plans, and I think he's going to let him go. But I think everybody is trying to make that School of Piranha thing that you were talking about at 47 with the belts. I think it's a little School of Piranhas around now that actually want it. My thing is this: you don't hear a lot of people running down on aside from Shakur, we talked about that, but you don't hear a lot of people running down or ringing Isaac Cruz's doorbell, even though he suffered that loss to Tank. And I'm like, he's a tough customer. He's high risk, low reward. What you think?
That's exactly why nobody's knocking down his door. He's high risk and low reward because he don't have a belt. And if you lose to him, your stock drops a little bit, and that puts him ahead for the next title shot. Cruz is a dangerous fighter right now, man. And he showed that he can get in there with somebody like Tank and go the distance. Now, granted, Tank injured his hand in that fight, but even without an injury, there's no guarantee that he was going to stop Cruz or anybody else. Cruz is just tough, man, and he's going to make a fight difficult. What Cruz lacks in physical ability, he has in strength. So he's gonna be right there in front of you, and he's gonna constantly be coming after you. And if you can't hurt him, you in for a long fight. And believe me, you're gonna have to fight. You're just not gonna be able to coast.
Yep. And I like, man, Frank he's all around. You know what I'm saying? He's all around. He's an all around good guy. I like how he was afterward. I like that he actually called the names. And I like that he said, look, I seen some things, some areas of improvement. He wasn't one of them ones talking about, I'm Muhammad Ali or I'm the next best. He said, hey, I see room for improvement. We're going to go back into the lab and we're going to continue to do what we do. So he ended the night. I think he made a statement. I think he's a very viable opponent, especially if he can build off of the experience in this fight. And Michel Rivera, he has nothing to hold his head down for. You know what I'm saying? He don't have to be down and out. He put his O up. You know, he came up short, and he also learned some things that and you know, that night that, you know, can make him a better fighter going forward. So it was a win for everybody, you know, for the most part, even and especially us as the fans.
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely.